Discover the unexpected connection. Billionaire shocked by waitress's pendant just like mom's. The diner buzzed with the familiar morning rush, the clatter of plates and the smell of sizzling bacon wrapping around Sarah like a thick blanket. She moved deftly between cramped tables, a smile plastered on her face, though a heavy weight pressed against her chest. Her mother's worsening condition gnawed at her, creating a constant pit of anxiety in her stomach. Each order she took was a small reprieve in the relentless cycle of worry. As she poured coffee for Mr. Thompson, her loyal regular, Sarah couldn't ignore the warmth of his gratitude. It was a reminder that even in her busy life, moments of kindness existed. Yet, on days like today, as she watched the clock tick closer to the lunch rush, the challenges of her life faded into the background, only to resurface when the excitement was stripped away: the bills, the doctor's appointments, her mother's fragile state. Each bill seemed to carry the weight of her world, pushing her further down a spiral of unease. In her mind, the question rang out like an incessant bell: how long could she manage this alone? Amid the cacophony, a new face entered. He was sharply dressed, a contrast to the greased aprons and worn sneakers that surrounded him. David Reynolds, the billionaire tech mogul with an inexhaustible aura of command. Their eyes met for a fleeting second, connection electric and unfamiliar, an unsettling jolt for both, filled with the now and the memories they each carried. But in the rush of breakfast, her responsibilities came roaring back. Did she dare let her mind linger on this unexpected moment? Coffee? She asked, somehow steadying her voice. Please, he replied, a hint of something deeper in his tone. He glanced at the pendant swinging gently against her collarbone. It was an unassuming piece, but to David, it felt like a ghost from a past he had long buried. Memories simmered just beneath the surface. Before they could delve deeper, the diner erupted into chaos. Orders mixed up, customers grumbling as the wait stretched longer than usual. Sarah's heart raced, and her mind spun with turmoil. It was one thing to bear the burdens of her life, it was another thing entirely to be seen as incompetent in front of a newcomer when everything seemed to hang in the balance. She struggled, buried under the clatter and demands, her past life surfacing in the creases of her apron, making her acutely aware of how paper-thin stability could be. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the moment dispersed, David's powerful aura shifted slightly. For just a heartbeat, the ruthlessness of his corporate world seemed a distant memory. Beneath those layers of ambition resided a longing for connection. The reality he chased felt hollow when he compared it to Sarah's unwavering devotion. The dichotomy between them felt insurmountable. Yet, even as the chaos wound down, a sense of foreboding wrapped itself around Sarah's thoughts, a wave of unease about what lurked in the depths of unspoken hopes and dreams. She felt the world pressing in closer as the stakes grew. Deep down, she questioned if it was arrogance to think that any sort of connection with someone like David could last, a mere spark flickering amidst the relentless shadows of reality. Would the chaos that defined both their worlds ultimately be the tether that kept them apart? With both lives spiraling towards an uncertain horizon, the moment lingered, leaving her heart heavy with doubt. Unresolved, the tension simmered as she wondered, could their paths cross again, or would it merely linger as a memory, like so many others she held close? The oppressive weight of doubt clung to Sarah as she wiped down the counter, her mind racing through a barrage of what-ifs. The diner's chaos receded into a dull hum as she wrapped her brain around their brief encounter, an electric flicker in the monotonous rhythm of her days. Why did his gaze linger so intensely? She shook her head, trying to dismiss the phantom feelings that had surfaced. But a part of her resisted. Was it foolish to consider that someone like David Reynolds could see her? Living in a world steeped in struggles, Sarah had built shields to protect herself from vulnerability. But their connection, however fleeting, struck at the core of what she longed for: recognition, understanding, and perhaps even a hint of hope. "You okay, Sarah?" asked a familiar voice, interrupting her thoughts. It was Jenna, her coworker, who always seemed attuned to when anxiety clouded her friend's aura. "Yeah, just thinking," Sarah replied, forcing a smile while her heart pounded under the surface. "Thinking about Mr. Billionaire?" Jenna teased, but her tone was light and carried no malice. "It was just a bizarre moment," Sarah admitted, feeling the blush creeping up her cheeks. In that breath of honesty, Sarah realized how much she wanted more than the diner, more than the empty echoes of her solitary evenings. What if she could cultivate the same relentless ambition as David? Not in wealth, but in personal fulfillment? Time slipped past as she resumed her tasks, yet the notion lingered. With each cup of coffee she poured, something within her stirred. This was more than a dream, it was an invitation to step outside the limits she had imposed on herself. Though her life was steeped in worry, there were stirrings of ambition creeping in, a desire to reignite her long-neglected dreams of pursuing nursing, of finding a path that led not merely to survival, but to a life richly lived. After her shift ended, she sat in her car, the engine quietly idling as dusk painted the sky. The weight of bills remained, yet for the first time in weeks, there was space for contemplation. Could she balance her mother's care with her own aspirations? What if she started small, researching nursing programs or even volunteering at a local clinic? In that moment, she decided to draft a plan. Each day could encompass a step toward her goal, no matter how tiny. It wasn't merely about escaping the diner, it was about fulfilling a promise to herself. She craved that intersection of connection and purpose, much like the moment she had shared with David. But her heart raced at the thought of stepping into something new. Could she face the rejections, the fails, the sheer obstacles that adulthood offered? And what of David? Would he even care about her aspirations, or would that only serve as stark evidence of their cavernous difference in status? The uncertainty wrapped around her tightly, a reminder of all she had to confront. Perhaps their paths had crossed for a reason, maybe she was meant to confront the chaos, both in her life and potentially in his as well. Driven by an unexpected spark, she started the engine, a symbol of her decision to not let inertia dictate her fate. As she glanced in the rearview mirror, the diner loomed behind her, familiar yet daunting. It was just a job, a stepping stone on a path riddled with uncertainty but also possibility. Her commitment to becoming more than just a waitress would demand courage she had not yet known. But as she navigated the quiet streets, doubt pricked at her confidence. Was it too late for dreams? Could the connection she felt toward David evolve into something more significant? The night felt heavy with questions as she pulled into her driveway. Tomorrow would demand a new resolve, and soon, she would either step into her potential or remain shackled to routine. What awaited her at work? Would David return, and, if so, what would she say? The dawn of realization loomed close. She had a choice to make, one that could change her life forever. Could tomorrow, for better or for worse, unearth a deeper truth about herself? As dawn broke, Sarah awoke to the smell of bacon and the faint sounds of her mother shuffling about in the kitchen. The familiar sights and sounds offered a feeling of comfort, but today felt different. With the remnants of last night's contemplation still fresh in her mind, Sarah's heart raced in anticipation. Today marked the beginning of her renewed commitment to herself. As she prepared for work, Sarah contemplated the small steps she intended to take toward her nursing aspirations. She imagined conducting patient assessments, everything from taking vital signs to giving compassionate care, responsibilities she had only ever dreamt of. Yet, as invigorating as those visions were, they were shadowed by the familiar anxiety of her everyday life. Could she balance her mother's needs with the weight of pursuing a demanding career path? At the diner, the regular flurry of activity wrapped around her like a second skin. Customers seated at booths, tapping their fingers impatiently for refills, while others laughed heartily over pancakes and coffee. But rather than sinking into the routine, Sarah sought out pockets of time during her shift to research nursing programs. She took her breaks at the edge of the bustling kitchen, scrolling through her phone, poring over information, the entry requirements, the local clinics seeking volunteers. Even in the chaos, she took notes, crafting a plan. Jenna noticed Sarah's focused demeanor, an energy so different from the usual ebb and flow of her friend's anxious tendencies. "You look like you've got a lot on your plate today," Jenna remarked, leaning against the counter with a curious smile. "I do. I'm thinking about nursing school," Sarah admitted, the words tumbling out before she could restrain them, both thrilling and terrifying. "No way. That's amazing. You've always wanted to do this, right?" Jenna's excitement was palpable, but it left Sarah feeling exposed. This declaration meant she couldn't turn back. "Yeah, but it's daunting," Sarah replied, weighing the risk of vulnerability. "What if I can't handle it?" "Then you'll adjust. Just think of the people you could help," Jenna beamed, her encouragement awakening a spark within Sarah. "You'll never know unless you try." The shift rolled on, each encounter with customers turning into fuel for Sarah's newfound determination. As the hours ticked away, David made an appearance, this time alone. He entered with an air of casual confidence, flashing his charming smile toward the diners before settling into a booth. When their eyes met, a crackle of electricity surged through the space, igniting a blend of nerves and excitement within her. But rather than retreating into doubt, Sarah felt emboldened. As she served his order, she reminded herself of her ambitions. If he did represent the world she longed for, perhaps he could illuminate a path rather than barrier. Would he notice her change? "Hey, do I get a welcoming smile, or do I have to wait for my coffee?" he teased lightly, breaking into her thoughts. Caught off guard, Sarah laughed, but within that laughter was an undercurrent of surprising assertiveness. "You'll get the coffee, but don't expect anything else," she quipped back, a newfound confidence daring her to embrace the interaction. As their banter continued, Sarah sensed an awakening of self within her. Each exchange, whether dreamy or grounded, became a layer in her burgeoning identity. This wasn't just about impressing him, it was about discovering who she could be beyond the diner. When her shift ended, Sarah felt a mix of adrenaline and resolve. She had made strides, both personally and professionally, and beneath her usual fears lay the thrill of possibility. She had finally turned her footsteps toward a brighter future. Yet even as the day wound down, the uncertainty gnawed at her. How would she juggle her responsibilities at home and the ambitions taking root inside her? The next chapter of her life seemed just within her grasp, tantalizingly close but precarious. As she drove home that night, determination intertwined with doubt. She knew she had to reach out, to take the leap, and tonight would be pivotal. What conversations awaited her? Would David become an integral part of her journey, or would he merely fade into the background? The answers loomed ahead, hidden yet beckoning, as her path unfurled before her. A decision had to be made, and she clutched the steering wheel tight. Tomorrow held the promise of revelation. Sarah arrived home just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the living room floor. The warmth of the fading day lingered, a gentle reminder that even as things changed, some constants remained. Her mother sat on the couch, a book in her hands but her eyes drifting into the distance, lost in thought. "Hey, Mom," Sarah greeted, forcing a smile that didn't quite match her racing heart. As she moved past, she felt the weight of the decision ahead pressing down on her. Would she be selfish to pursue her aspirations while her mother needed her? "Just finished my chapter," her mother replied softly, glancing up. "How was work?" "Busy, but good," Sarah managed, heading to the kitchen to prepare a light dinner. The rhythm of familiar tasks provided her a moment's respite, but it did little to quell the internal battle roiling within. As she put together the meal, her thoughts churned. She considered the nursing programs she had researched, imagining herself in scrubs, surrounded by patients, perhaps even standing beside David in a completely different setting. Each thought swirled with trepidation, but this was a new Sarah, the one who had tasted resilience and that spark of assertiveness. Feeling a sense of urgency, she turned back to the living room. "Mom, can we talk?" Her mother looked up, curiosity piqued but a hint of concern flickering in her eyes. "Of course, sweetheart. What's on your mind?" Taking a deep breath, Sarah plunged into the conversation. "I've been thinking a lot about my future, like seriously thinking this time." It felt like a weight had lifted, yet at the same moment, the gravity of her honesty sank in deeply. "What do you mean?" her mother asked, her brow knitting together. "I want to pursue nursing school," Sarah said, watching her mother's expression closely. For a moment, silence enveloped them. Sarah could see the wheels turning in her mother's mind, the myriad of concerns battling for supremacy. "But Sarah, your job here. I need you. It's just the two of us, and I can't." I know, Sarah interrupted gently, feeling a mix of desperation and determination. "But this is important to me. I want to make a difference. Can't you see that? I've waited long enough. Are you sure it's not just a whim?" Her mother responded, her protective instincts flaring. "You're going to have to juggle studies with work and everything else. It's not easy." "I won't know unless I try," Sarah retorted, frustration punctuating her voice. "I've been living for others for so long. I need to take this leap. I can't let fear hold me back any longer." It was a bold step, one that felt both thrilling and disorienting. As her mother's gaze softened, Sarah recognized the tension easing between them, perhaps the first step toward mutual understanding. "Okay," her mother sighed, a mix of resignation and acceptance in her tone. "I just don't want you to risk everything we've built." "Mom, I don't want to abandon you. But part of building our life together means I grow too," Sarah implored, desperate to bridge the generational divide. The ice cracked as her mother nodded slowly, her expression revealing a flicker of pride. "Just promise me you'll be careful. I don't want to see you struggle more than you have to." "I promise," Sarah replied, relief flooding her. She felt more anchored now, the exchange initiating a transformation in both of them. After dinner, as she washed dishes, Sarah acted on her sense of decisive momentum, picking up her phone to text David. "Hey, can we talk tomorrow? I want to share something important." Her heart raced. What was she doing? Would he even care? The decision was impulsive, yet it felt necessary. She was no longer the timid waitress. The uncertainties lingered, but now they were woven into her aspirations rather than shrouded in doubt. Little by little, as the seconds ticked away, she was defining her path. What would he say? How could she navigate this budding connection alongside her own ambitions? With each heartbeat, she felt the weight of tomorrow's conversations loom larger. Would they carry her deeper into this new world, or push her further from it? As she placed the last dish in the drying rack, she couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would usher in a pivotal moment of challenge, one that would either fortify her resolve or expose new fears lying in wait. As the morning light filtered through the kitchen window, Sarah felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety simmering beneath her skin. Today was the day she would speak with David. The simple act loomed larger than she had expected. Brushing her fingers against her pendant, a gift from her mother, she remembered their conversation the night before. Standing on the threshold of change, she recalled all that she wanted to achieve and how far she had come. At work, the familiar rhythm of tables being served and dishes cleared should have brought comfort, yet the bustle only heightened her nervous energy. As she maneuvered through the crowded restaurant floor, the prospect of sharing her aspirations with David felt like a tightrope walk. Each step taken felt like a commitment to change, a commitment she wasn't entirely sure she could honor. "Hey, Sarah," David's voice cut through her thoughts, smooth and warm. She turned to him, heart catching in her throat. He smiled, the way he always did, and her resolve wavered. He stepped closer, the scent of fresh coffee surrounding them. "You okay? You seem off." "Yeah, just a lot on my mind," she replied, her throat tightening with the weight of unspoken truths. "Want to talk about it?" he offered, genuine concern etched across his features. This was the moment. Taking a deep breath, Sarah decided to seize her chance. "Actually, I'd rather share it in private. Can we meet somewhere after your shift?" "Of course. How about that coffee shop around the corner?" His enthusiasm calmed her swirling thoughts. Hours passed slowly, anxiety increasing with each tick of the clock. Finally, as her shift ended, she headed to the coffee shop, her heart pounding in anticipation. What if he didn't understand? What if he turned away from her ambitions? The cafe's aromas wrapped around her a rich blend of coffee and baked goods. She spotted David at a corner table, his eyes scanning the door until they met hers. A sense of warmth enveloped her as she settled into the chair opposite him. "Hey, I'm glad you came," he started, eager and inviting. "Me too." She paused, mind racing. The words she had rehearsed in her head shifted and danced, eluding her grasp. "So, I wanted to talk about my future. Is everything okay?" His brow furrowed, concern etched across his face. "Everything is different," she admitted. "I've decided to pursue nursing school." David's eyebrows shot up, surprise flickering in his eyes. "Wow, that's a big step. What made you decide?" "I feel like it's my time to be brave. I want to make a difference to really help people," she explained, her voice growing steadier with conviction, yet snippets of doubt nipped at her determination. "But there's something else. I want to share this journey, and I want to know if you'd be interested in being part of it." "Of course, I'd be interested," he said, leaning forward with interest. "But I'm more curious about what this means for you. Are you ready for the commitments that come with it?" His questioning pierced through her initial euphoria, forcing her to confront the realities. Juggling work, school, and her budding feelings toward him was no small task. "Honestly, I don't know what it will look like," she confessed softly, swallowing hard. "But I'm willing to figure it out. I can't keep living for others' expectations." "Sarah," he said, tilting his head as he observed her. "That's a powerful realization. You're fighting for yourself, and that's worth admiration." Her cheeks warmed at his words, both inspiring and complicating. But as she gazed into his warm brown eyes, she felt a flicker of hope. He might recognize the strength within her that even she was still attempting to grasp. But amid this budding connection, a nagging thought crept into her mind: could she balance this new commitment with the relationship she yearned to build with David? Would he still be there when she faced the inevitable struggles? As she mulled over her internal resistance, a faint shadow of doubt began to form, seeded by the thrill of realization. Their paths were now intertwined, but she couldn't shake the sensation that this was just the beginning. What if she stumbled? A moment passed in silence, tension building. The connection felt poignant but precarious, and as their conversation shifted toward lighter topics, Sarah's thoughts drifted back to her aspirations. She needed to find her footing, and soon. Could she navigate these complicated waters, or was she destined to capsize under the weight of her dreams and choices? The questions loomed heavily, but she knew one thing: the path ahead would require more than just aspiration, it would call for courage like she had never summoned before. As the cafe faded into quiet chatter around them, Sarah felt the sheer magnitude of her next step's pulse in the air, waiting to be discovered. How far was she willing to stretch herself, and what obstacles awaited her? Tomorrow would bring new challenges, ones she had to confront head-on. The next day felt like a delicate dance between obligation and aspiration, with both propelling Sarah forward yet keeping her tethered. As the kitchen filled with the rich sense of breakfast, she found herself lost in thought, distracted by the enormity of her plans. Each plate she served felt more like a reminder of the life she was partially living and the future she desperately wanted to claim. The shift dragged on, each passing moment amplifying her internal conflict. Had she made the right choice, or was she treading into territory far too daunting? The weight of her decision bore down on her, and every time David's laughter echoed through the restaurant, it tugged at her heart, reminding her of the conversation that had ignited the flame of possibility within her. During a rare moment of quiet, Sarah took a minute to collect herself beneath the flickering fluorescent lights. She absent-mindedly traced the outline of her mother's pendant resting against her chest, a symbol of love and courage. "What would you do?" she whispered under her breath, seeking refuge in the wisdom of the past. Later in the shift, when the lunch rush hit, Sarah felt the familiar adrenaline course through her veins, but this time it was laced with a newfound intensity. She couldn't just go through the motions, she had to set a course, learn, adapt, and rise. And so, every interaction with patrons and colleagues became a mini practice session for the nurse she aspired to be. When David approached to help her clear tables, she seized the opportunity. "Hey, I was thinking about something you said yesterday," she initiated, her voice steady. "About the commitments I have to make. It's daunting, but I realized I'm ready for it. I need to juggle this work life and studies, but I'm committed." His brow arched, a mix of curiosity and admiration. "That's a brave mindset, Sarah. Have you thought about how to manage it all?" "I have some ideas," she said, feeling a spark of enthusiasm. "Why not create a schedule, block out study time, and evaluate every week to see what changes need to be made? Each day will bring something new, and flexibility might be my best tool." David nodded, impressed. "That sounds like a solid plan. You show more resilience than you give yourself credit for." As he spoke, something clicked within her. Nice words aside, it wasn't just bravado, it was strategy. She wasn't just dreaming anymore, she was planning her ascent. But as his voice trailed off, Sarah felt an inkling of fear creeping back in. Would her plan be enough? The shift ended, and Sarah decided to delve deeper into her aspirations. She pulled out her notebook, filled with ideas and sketches about nursing school, potential study groups, and even personal goals. It felt empowering to put pen to paper and define her vision. Just as she was wrapping up, her phone buzzed. A message from David lit up the screen. "You've been incredible today. Let's grab coffee again soon." A smile crept across her face as she typed a quick response, but her heart raced at what the coffee meeting might mean. Weren't they blurring the lines between ambition and personal connection? Each day she spent with him propelled her forward, but could he make her falter as well? Hunting for clarity amidst the confusion, Sarah realized the bedrock of her growth depended not just on resolve, but on honesty and communication. The next day, she resolved to share more of her plans with David. Not just about nursing school, but about the existential doubts swirling in her subconscious. She could not let the allure of personal relationships distract her from pursuing her path. But still, his presence was intoxicating, and the prospects of sharing her journey loomed large. Early one morning, stomach tight with nerves, Sarah sat in a quiet park, thinking of the conversation to come. What if her self-doubt held her back from defining her potential? She would have to confront it, openly share her insecurities, and truly connect. That meant risking the comfort they had begun to build together. The weight of uncertainty grew heavier. Could she merge vulnerability with ambition without losing herself in the process? What awaited her in this intricate balance of dreams and relationships? Tomorrow, the confrontation with her own fears would unfold, along with the impact it could have on her connection with David. In navigating these uncharted waters, Sarah knew she had to step forward fully aware and resolutely authentic. As the sun broke through the trees, a sense of determination surged within her. Would she come out stronger from these discussions, or would they expose cracks in her newfound confidence? The answers were out there, waiting to be discovered. In the quiet park, surrounded by the vibrant hues of dawn, Sarah's heart raced with each thought that flitted through her mind. She had envisioned this conversation countless times, yet its impending reality felt like a wave crashing against her carefully constructed defenses. Her mother's pendant, cool against her skin, was a reminder of resilience, and now she needed that strength more than ever. As she started to pace beneath the sheltering branches, an urgency brewed inside of her. Today was not just about sharing aspirations but confronting the layers of fear wrapping around those aspirations. Would David understand her struggles? Would he see the conflict between her ambitions and her emotions as a weakness, or as a bridge to connecting intellectually and personally? The sun crested higher, its rays nudging her thoughts towards clarity. She understood that in sharing her vulnerabilities, she risked exposing herself to judgment. But what she had come to realize was that vulnerability might just be her greatest ally. If she wanted to cultivate a partnership based on honesty and mutual understanding, then she could not hide behind her fears or aspirations. Arriving at the cafe where they first connected over coffee, Sarah's resolve solidified. The familiar sense of freshly brewed coffee and baked goods wrapped around her like a warm embrace. With each step inside, her focus narrowed not just on David, who was seated at their usual table, but on the purpose of what she needed to express. As she approached, she noticed the gentle smile on his face. It was reassuring, yet it filled her with a mix of trepidation and resolve. "Hey, thanks for inviting me. I've been looking forward to this," she said, taking a seat. "Me too. You've been such a force at work lately." "I love seeing you in your element," he responded, his gaze steady and encouraging. "Thanks. That means a lot, especially with everything going on. I've been doing some thinking about the future and what I need to do to get there." She took a deep breath, searching David's eyes for a glimpse of understanding. "What are you thinking?" His interest felt genuine, but beneath it, Sarah sensed a waiting suspense, as if he too was aware of the weight of her words. "I want to go to nursing school. I feel this calling, but I'm terrified. There's so much to balance: work, study, life itself. I don't want my fears about failing to hold me back." Even as she spoke, each word unshackled previously unvoiced doubts. David leaned in with intensity. "That's huge, Sarah. It sounds like you really want this. What exactly scares you the most?" Facing him now, she couldn't hide from her truth. "I worry that I'm not enough. What if I can't handle the demands of studying or the emotional toll it takes? What if I take this leap and fall flat? And then there's us. How do I navigate that if I'm consumed by fear?" A silence enveloped them, punctuated by the soft sounds of the cafe around them. David's expression shifted, turning from curiosity to deep consideration. "We can support each other, you know. I get it, it's daunting. But you should know that I see something in you, something strong." His affirmation ignited a spark within her. Still, as she processed his response, another thought surfaced. Here she was, laying bare her concerns, but did he feel ready to share what was on his mind, too? There was an unspoken tension between aspiration and connection, and Sarah sensed that their conversation could lead them through uncharted waters. "David, I appreciate your support, but I need to know where you stand. How do you feel about this potential distance between us if I pursue nursing school?" He shifted in his seat, clearly contemplating. "I think it could be a challenge, but how we handle it can define us. Support can't just be a one-way street." Nervous anticipation filled the air as Sarah weighed his words. Could they both navigate their paths while maintaining their bond? As she listened to him, she understood that growth often came with tests. That realization crystallized: her path to nursing might unveil more than just the personal strength she craved. It could clarify her relationship with David too. His honesty not only encouraged her but ignited a curiosity about what possible futures could lie ahead for them both. Maybe allowing ourselves to be vulnerable is the first step toward building something genuinely strong, she mused. But what happens if the pressure of ambition pushes us apart instead? With a tentative smile, David met her gaze, the moment thick with possibilities. The time had come to face those fears together, don't you think? Let us redefine what this partnership looks like, even if it leads us to separate paths. In that exchange, Sarah began to not just contemplate her future in nursing school, but the complexity of maintaining a relationship born out of mutual ambition. No longer a solitary journey, she realized that the essence of her growth could intertwine with understanding herself and David more deeply. Would their honesty be their catalyst, or would it create an emotional rift that neither was prepared to face? The layers of their connection were unfolding, yet clarity danced just out of reach, waiting for the next conversation that would take them both deeper still. As Sarah and David continued to share their aspirations over coffee, the initial tension began to dissolve into a sense of mutual understanding. Yet, beneath the layer of reassurance lay an unease, a silent acknowledgement that their journey ahead could drastically shift the dynamics they had built. Sarah's mind raced with possibilities. Each sip of her coffee brought more clarity, but it also deepened her anxiety. How much more of her truth was she willing to share? The fear of stumbling in her ambitions loomed large, yet with David's support, it was both a comfort and a challenge. Would he still believe she was strong enough if she faltered? "I've thought a lot about this," she began, her heart pounding as she continued to explore her thoughts aloud. "Nursing school isn't just a career choice for me, it feels like a calling, something I have to answer. But I also can't ignore that I have a whole life here." Our relationship. David raised an eyebrow, vulnerable to the weight of her words. "There's nothing holding you back but your own fears. Everyone who strives for something feels this way at some point. I do, too. It sounds cliché, but I believe it's how we face those fears that matters." His words struck a chord within Sarah. It wasn't just about fear, it was about growth. Yet the nagging question remained, could she truly embrace her ambition without sacrificing the relationship she valued? "There are moments when I think about diving in head first, but then doubts creep in." She hesitated, wrestling with her emotions. What if I fail? What if nursing school is too much? I mean, I've never even worked in a high-stress environment like that. What if I can't do it? David's expression shifted, empathy shining in his eyes. "You can't know until you try, and maybe failing is part of finding out how strong you can be. Besides, doubt is a part of any journey worth taking." With each revelation, her chest felt lighter, even as the weight of uncertainty sat heavy. She considered the potential fallout of their ambitions. What if my growth pulls us apart? What if pursuing my passion means we lose what we have? The distance might be uncomfortable, he admitted, but maybe it's necessary. Each of us has to own our journey. If we truly care about each other, we should be able to meet in the middle, no matter how far apart we drift. His perspective reignited Sarah's determination. Here was the chance to redefine not just her goals, but how she viewed their relationship. What if this was an opportunity to cultivate both personal and shared growth? Then, a thought struck her. But can we really do that? Can we keep growing as individuals while staying connected? "I don't want to just watch you from afar, I want us both to thrive." David's smile returned, genuine and infectious. "We can make it work. And you won't just be someone I watch, you'll inspire me. We're in this together, and it's okay to challenge one another." With a resolve that felt visceral, Sarah absorbed his words. She had always equated ambition with isolation, yet his insights hinted at potential collaboration. Maybe, in their individual pursuits, they could weave a stronger bond. As they discussed the logistics of her decision school applications, work schedules, the striking balance each point began to crystallize into manageable steps. Sarah's heart swelled with the possibility of a future filled with encouragement rather than trepidation. Yet beneath that exhilaration flickered another fear: what if David wasn't the only significant change in her life to come? In the quiet aftermath of their conversation, a lingering question played on Sarah's mind: is it just her ambition that she needed to reconcile with, or were there deeper aspects of herself that required exploration? Just then, her phone buzzed, and an unexpected notification popped up, an application for a nursing scholarship with a deadline looming. Her heart raced again, but this time, with newfound determination. What if I applied for this scholarship right now? It's the first step. The excitement in her voice surprised her. David's eyes widened, reflecting her own enthusiasm. You won't know until you take that leap. Embrace the challenge, Sarah. She felt a blend of fear and exhilaration wash over her. With every moment they spent together, she realized just how intimately tied their paths were becoming, even as they ventured into unknown territories. And as Sarah hovered over the scholarship application, alongside the swirling uncertainties of ambition and emotional connection, she wondered how far she was willing to go to transform her life and their relationship forever. Would she have the courage to forge ahead, knowing that every step could lead them each to something unexpected? As the clock ticked on and the cafe buzzed around them, a new wave of determination surged within. What awaited her on the other side of that application could alter her reality in profound ways, and she was ready to embrace whatever came next. Sarah's fingers hovered over her phone, pulse quickening with every moment she hesitated. The scholarship application blinked back at her, a digital doorway to her future. Each item on the form felt like a mountain she had to climb, but the exhilaration of it overwhelmed her doubt. She wanted this, needed this. Yet the apprehension of the unknown pushed against her resolve. What are you waiting for? David prompted, watching her with an encouraging gaze, his coffee long forgotten. You won't regret taking that first step. She nodded, inhaling deeply. This was it. She pressed begin application and watched as the screen transformed into an empty canvas waiting for her goals, dreams, and fears to be etched upon it. As she filled in her personal details, anxiety twisted in her stomach. What if she poured out her heart in that essay, only for the committee to find it lacking? What if all of her efforts led to rejection? The shadows of doubt crept in, whispering cruel reassurances that she should just play it safe instead. But then, she thought about David. His belief in her gave her strength, and she couldn't let that faith go unchallenged. What he had echoed, the idea that failing was a mere stepping stone, resonated deep within her. She deciding to view the possibility of failure as an integral part of her journey rather than an endpoint. With renewed determination, Sarah typed furiously, outlining her motivations for pursuing nursing. Each word reflected her growth, each sentence a testament to her dedication, her vision to impact lives. It felt liberating, as if she was shedding layers of self-imposed limitations. As she neared the end of the application, a question struck her: why did she want to become a nurse? Yes, she yearned for the skills to provide care, the wisdom to empathize, and the passion to serve. But more than that, she wished to contribute to a field that had always been a source of inspiration for her. She wanted to be a beacon of hope for others, a role she once felt disconnected from. David, perceptive even when silent, leaned closer. What are you writing about? He asked, his voice low and filled with genuine curiosity. She looked up, momentarily surprised by his inquiry. Why I want to be a nurse, she confessed. I don't want to just work in healthcare, I want to make a difference and help those in need. His smile widened. And you will, you know. Just look at how far you've come, Sarah. Her heart swelled with pride. Their aspirations intertwined yet again, and in that moment, she recognized how important these conversations had become. Each shared story, every flicker of encouragement that passed between them, was strengthening their bond. Still, she couldn't ignore that unaddressed fear. What would happen when she would be fully absorbed in her studies and spending time with David inevitably ebbed? She turned back to the application, determination shimmering within her. With each question answered, Sarah felt herself transforming, battling demons of self-doubt while constructing a path toward fulfillment. But as the final submission button loomed, she faltered again. The full weight of what she was committing to settled heavily on her shoulders, a journey laden with responsibility, expectations, and, yes, the risk of failure. Would David remain by her side, or would the pressures of her ambitions fracture the trust they were nurturing? She took a deep breath, reminding herself that growth was often cloaked in discomfort. Trusting in the process, she clicked submit. Instantly, a mix of relief and terror washed over her. The application was out there, and so was her ambition. She was no longer simply imagining her future. She was shaping it. Done? David asked, catching the rush of emotions that played across her face. Yes, she replied, her voice steady, unwavering as she turned to him. I took that leap. His recognition of her accomplishment sent chills of multiplication through her, an ember that stirred her even further. Now you can prepare for what comes next. The real work begins with dedication, he encouraged. Sarah nodded, invigorated, yet the weight of the unknown loomed closer. As the cafe filled with afternoon chatter, she couldn't shake off the underlying tension within her. Was she ready for the demands that lie ahead, and what changes would faithfully accompany her on this new journey? And then it hit her, with an intensity she hadn't expected. It was time to confront her own fears about balancing the duality of her ambition and her relationship. Could she truly remain connected while delving into this new chapter of her life? As the questions buzzed through her mind, a clarion call to the complexities swirling ahead, she realized that understanding herself was the first victory needed to tackle the challenges yet to come. What realizations awaited her on the brink of self-discovery, and would she reignite the bond with David, or would it slowly unravel? The next phase of this journey beckoned from the horizon, promising revelations and decisive moments just beyond her reach. Days turned into weeks as Sarah dove into her new life, the whirlpool of ambition and duty propelling her onward. She split her time between her shifts at the diner, studying tirelessly for her classes, and spending precious moments with her mother. Each day brought a blend of exhaustion and exhilaration, forging her resilience in ways she had never anticipated. Her first nursing class was an enlightening experience, underscoring the passion she felt deep within. Engaging discussions on patient care ignited her enthusiasm, and even amid the intensity, she felt a sense of belonging. This was her place. David remained in her corner, cheering her on over coffee sessions that became rituals of encouragement and shared dreams. As they discussed her progress, each word he spoke shoved aside the shadows of doubt that had once threatened to engulf her. However, the balancing act began to take its toll. One evening, after a particularly long shift intermingled with the stresses of her coursework, Sarah fell into the couch staring blankly at the television. Her mother sat nearby, reading quietly, but she could sense her daughter's struggle. "Are you all right, sweetheart?" Her mother's voice broke through the haze, concern threading through her words. "Yeah, just tired." "It's a lot to manage," Sarah admitted, feeling a strange pressure settle within her. How could she convey the chaos of her emotions, the constant juggling of responsibilities that felt too overwhelming at times? "Have you talked to David? He seems to lift you somehow," her mother prodded gently, the subtle encouragement urging Sarah to open up. "I have, but I don't want to burden him with my doubts," she confessed, frustration flickering in her chest. "What if I can't handle it all? I don't want to disappoint him, or you. I don't want us to fall apart." Her mother's expression softened into understanding, the kind that only a parent could offer. "You've shown incredible strength getting this far, Sarah. Lean on those you trust. Maybe sharing your struggles with David would ease that weight. You're not alone in this." Those words struck a chord deep within her. Nourished by moments of shared honesty, Sarah recalled the connection they were building, an assurance that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness but rather a form of strength. That evening, as she prepared to meet David at their cafe, her heart raced. An electrifying mix of anticipation and uncertainty coursed through her. They had expressed ambitions, optimism, and support, yet she had never taken the plunge to fully share the deeper shadows that crisscrossed her mind. When she arrived, David immediately noticed her unease. "Hey! What is going on? You look different," he said, a hint of concern lining his voice. "I'm holding a lot inside." I think it's time we really talk about my process. I need you to know that I'm struggling balancing everything, she said, the weight of her confession unraveling like a long-held secret. In the slant of the cafe's light, David's expression shifted, stirring a blend of empathy and understanding. I'm here for whatever it is, just let it out. I want to know the real you. This was the moment, the clarity she needed to traverse her path with David beside her. So, she spoke of the emotional weight from juggling her studies, caring for her mother, and the fear that loomed over her like a shadow, threatening to dim the light of her aspirations. With each word, she uncovered layers she had buried: the pressures of perceived expectations, the persistent doubts, and the fear that she might fall short of her dreams. Yet each defeatist thought was also tangled with hopeful ambition, encapsulating who she was becoming outside of the diner. David listened intently, unwavering presence a balm to her worries. It sounds like a lot, but I want you to know something: you're doing remarkable things. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, it just means you're reaching for more. Tears blurred her vision as Sarah felt the restraint fall away. But what if I can't succeed? What happens to us? My ambitions are taking so much time. Hey, I'm in this too, and I want you to succeed, he replied, steady and firm. Let us be open about it all, and I'll support you through the challenges, however they present themselves. This shouldn't be something you navigate alone. The words triggered an epiphany, the realization that David's support didn't detract from her strength, it added another layer of stability to her journey. She had unconsciously viewed vulnerability as a flaw, but all this time it had been a gateway to deeper connection. That night was different, cradled by the warmth of shared resolve. They talked and laughed, dreams intertwining as they navigated the landscape of their aspirations. And even as the night wore on, Sarah embraced the truth that her path would not dampen their connection, it could enrich it instead. Weeks morphed into months, and while demands grew, so did her capacity to tackle them. She forged ahead with a renewed focus and a balance between ambition and the bond with David. With each passing day, she learned to adapt, prioritizing her tasks and allowing herself grace when things didn't go as planned. Then came the day she stood in the nursing school's administrative office, nervous energy coursing through her. The advisor across from her smiled, warm and reassuring. Your determination is commendable. You've been accepted into the program. An exhilarating rush cascaded over Sarah, disbelief competing with joy. She wanted this, the commitment to pursue her dreams lay solidly beneath her feet. As she stepped out of the office, a sense of certainty flooded her. She felt rooted, poised to face challenges head-on. And there was David, a patient figure waiting for her with a knowing smile. So, how does it feel? Like I finally belong to something much bigger than me, she said, tinged with excitement. Together, they celebrated her triumph, but more importantly, they began planning for a future that included both their growths. But an important milestone loomed ahead. She still had to confront the delicate balance of her responsibilities to her mother while genuinely pursuing her aspirations. Encouraged by their conversations, Sarah broached the subject one evening during dinner. Mom, I got accepted into nursing school. But I want to make sure that you can still rely on me while I navigate this new journey. Her mother blinked, caught off guard. I had hoped you would, but that's a big commitment, Sarah. You don't have to carry everything alone. Maybe we could consider extra help for a while longer? I want to support you, but I need to grow too, Sarah replied, gently holding her mother's hand. We can figure this out together. I want to see you thrive while I pursue what I love. Over time, discussions about outside support allowed Sarah to take a step back without the guilt that once paralyzed her. The partnership they started to form redefined their dynamics, allowing love and support to flourish in unexpected ways. As Sarah began her nursing journey, she embraced her role and newfound resolve. Each encounter with patients reinforced her purpose. She was learning the art of compassionate care, but just as importantly, she was mastering the skill of vulnerability, the act of allowing love, empathy, and ambition to coexist within her life. The challenges of nursing school and their relationship continued to curve along complex trajectories, but one thing remained clear: the connection between Sarah and David deepened with every hurdle they faced. In confronting each other's fears and nurturing their ambitions, they proved that vulnerability was not a chink in her armor; rather, it became a powerful force, reinforcing the strength needed to overcome together. As the semester drew to a close, Sarah, with freshly earned confidence, confronted the crossroads ahead. With every choice she made, she built a life not only tailored for personal growth and ambition but also flourished with meaningful connections that resonated through both her heart and her family. No longer a solitary endeavor, she grew in the support of those around her. Determined to combine purpose with love. Presenting the final piece of her application for a scholarship on subsequent nursing programs ignited fresh energy, but this time, she was ready to face any outcomes. Love, ambition, and connection had formed an unbreakable bond, the manifestation of her journey toward fulfillment. Cumulatively, Sarah had conquered her fears, struck a delicate balance, and forged a pathway into a future rich with possibilities. She understood that the power to define her own destiny lay within her. Amid worries and triumphs, it was a beautiful, complex journey. As she prepared for her graduation ceremony weeks later, one certainty remained: every accomplishment was a testament to the brave choices made not only for herself but for those she loved. Embracing the culmination of her transition, she stood firm in her resolve, knowing that both vulnerability and ambition would forever be entwined in the narrative of her life. The future was bright and simply waiting for her to continue writing the next vibrant chapters. Now, as this incredible story of transformation concludes, remember the power of your own journey. Do not hesitate to step forward and conquer your fears, embrace vulnerability, and inspire those around you. You need to subscribe now to follow more incredible stories like this. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to express your love for personal growth journeys and help spread this message. Comment your thoughts below, sharing your reflections on Sarah's journey and what you learned. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this powerful message of transformation. Don't wait even one more second to inspire others.